Good morning and welcome to Coffee Break Cheltenham for day 3. Day 2 certainly delivered again on the emotional side. Brian Gleeson and 85-year-old John Kiley striking in the bumper with a homebred horse. This doesn't get any better than that. If you want to hear all about day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival, go over to the SBK YouTube page where you can see the daily review with myself and my colleague Tom Collins. But Coffee Break Cheltenham is all about giving you everything you need to know for day 3 of the Cheltenham Festival, all in the time it takes you and me to drink coffee. Mucking out's going well this morning, and the sun is out as well. So I've actually come outside. Hopefully no cats or peacocks interrupt this, but we'll get straight on into the review of, or preview, I should say, of day 3. So the first thing to note is that we're now onto the new course. Far more of a stamina test now, less of a sharp track, and particularly on the hurdle course, just 2 hurdles in the last 6 furlongs or 3/4 of a mile. So patience is essential. If you go too early for home here, you are not going to get home. And then the ground, with all that rain falling yesterday, I was firmly of the assumption that the ground would be on the very soft side of soft, but I've just seen a piece with John Pullen on ITV Racing, and he says that the ground is soft, but with good to soft patches, and plenty of them, and that they would review that before their first race on their final walk around. So I was all doom and gloom last night with my big anti-post hope for the Turners Banbridge, and then when I saw that, I thought, oh, maybe the ground isn't so bad. But no, he's out, so he is not there to take on Mighty Potter. Now, anyone that knows anything I do know that I just can't have a Gordon Elliott horse at any price ever. It's just something I don't do. So I've got to find something to take him on with. And I just like James de Burley. He was my hope for the Brown Advisory. They've decided to come here. He was very disappointing last time at the Dublin Racing Festival behind Mighty Potter, where he just barely raised a gallop. But I think that can be put down to the bounce factor. That was his second run after a long layoff, and he was pretty impressive on his first run. Absolutely thumped Capilano Bridge, who's a 135 horse. Absolutely hammered him. Jumped beautifully. He's a high-class horse. If the ground is on the softer side, that'll suit him. He's got great form in Autoy on soft and heavy ground. And around about 16-1, I could see him, at least shaking up Mighty Potter, whose jumping hasn't looked bulletproof. I concede he is a decent horse, but I've got to take him on. I think jumping could just be a chink in his armour, and he'll be the one. Into the 210, which is the per temps hurdle, and this isn't a race I get involved with. It's not a race I enjoy. I don't particularly like the qualification criteria. I think it means that you have to just really take a bit of a swing at this. If I was nailed down to a bet, and I'm not, and that's important to reiterate, we haven't got to bet every race. It's entirely voluntary. But if I was asked for a selection, it would probably be Mill Green, who comes here off the same mark he was third off last year. He's an 11-year-old now, so perhaps slightly on the downgrade. But I thought his return run was pretty decent, and at a decent price, around about 25-1. If I had to have a selection, he would be it. Then it's the 250, and the horse we're all waiting to see, or certainly I am, and that's Shishkin. It was well advertised by my SBK colleagues, Jess and Tom, that I hadn't given up on this horse. I thought he was written off far too soon for legitimate reasons. He ran below par at the festival last year in the Champion Chase and in the Tingle Creek on his return. He showed that to be absolutely the right opinion to have, and you're right, sometimes you're wrong others. I was right on this occasion. He was brilliant at Ascot last time. I don't think he'll even have to be that good this time to win this. He's arguably better left-handed. He does jump slightly out to his left, and I think he'll take all the beating here, for all that he's now a price that I don't want to get involved with. French Dynamite is perhaps the one for me that could run into a place. I think he's a decent horse with good course form. I think he'll be ridden cold and perhaps be ridden to pick up a few pieces late on. He's around about 20-1. The feature race of the day is the Stayers Hurdle. Now, what a muddle this has been right throughout the year. It looked at the start like being a bit of a non-contest, and then gradually, different horses have come to the fore. Tihupu, if the ground is soft, that's going to really help him. But it might not be that soft. John Pullen said that 4 mil had fallen throughout the entirety of yesterday. It's quite breezy there now with a few showers forecast. So if the ground does get towards good to soft, that's not going to help this horse. And I'm not sold on his stamina yet either. I know he looked like he stayed powerfully in the Galmoy last time, but that was run at a very pedestrian pace in the early stages. And that's enough reason for me to take him on, alongside the fact that he did bomb out big time in the Champion Hurdle last year. Blazing Carl, well, I mean, what to make of him? I think the only person that knows about Blazing Carl is Charles Burns, shrewd man that he is. I do think that wound on his hind leg did look pretty nasty to me. I could understand that would have meant missing more than a couple of days of work. If he's fit enough, he's got a chance. But I also think there is a chance this horse could bounce, because his run last time, his return run, was a huge run after a long layoff. Bounce factor is a possibility with this horse. Combined with the fact he's clearly not had the ideal run into the race in the last couple of weeks, I can overlook him. Then you've got Flooring Porter, who again hasn't had the ideal prep and perhaps isn't going to get to run the race how he wants this time. Danny Mullins, I think, has schooled the jockeys in each of the last two seasons of this, setting his own fractions. Surely that's not going to happen for a third year in a row. And I just think he's vulnerable now. For all that I would like to see him do it, because I would like to see my SBK colleague Tom Collins in an Everton shirt as a forfeit if he does. For me, 2 at a price, Classical Dream. I think he's a high-class horse. He definitely wasn't suited by the sprint it turned into last time. If they go a more even gallop, it'll help him settle. I think he's a decent animal. He, again, hasn't perhaps had the ideal prep, but at 8-1, I'm prepared to take a bit of a chance about him. And then the old boy Paisley Park. I love this horse. I'll get laughed at a bit for this, but I think he's been as good as ever, or near on this year, certainly better than he's been for the last couple of seasons. He loves this track. And if he gets an end-to-end gallop, he'll be coming strong up the hill, provided he doesn't get too far back. And I think Aidan Coleman does get on well with him. Not sure Aidan Coleman's had a vintage week on John Bonn and then perhaps Campron's yesterday, but it's a long old week, still chance to turn his week around. And I'd love to see Paisley Park fly up the hill and take the roof off Cheltenham once more. He's 18-1, and I'll certainly be having a few pound on him each way. The Festival Plate is a handicap chase I really like, and I've got 2 in here that I've tipped up anti-post. That's All Right Genie is the first. He's into 10-1 now, but he's got still a mark of 145, and I think he's still got scope off that mark. He ran a really nice race here 2 runs ago. Was ridden quite a long way back. I think he was ridden to see if he got the trip, and he got the trip really well. Then went to Kempton, was beaten by Solo, and I think he should have beaten that horse on that occasion. I'm not sure it was Gavin Sheehan's finest moment. Slight concern they've gone for headgear. I didn't see that as an angle for him, really, and I'm slightly concerned that it might just light him up in the early stages. Gavin Sheehan could have been on Fugitive, owned by Carl Hinchy, trained by Richard Hobson. I spoke to them on this YouTube channel on Sunday. So if you haven't watched that already, check it out. Just their passion is just absolutely unbelievable. It's to be admired. They speak about how they've nurtured this horse for this race over the last 3 years, buying on a budget, trying to compete with the big boys. I'd love to see them get this done. And I think he's got a great chance. Sean Bowen takes over. I think Sean will be suited to this horse. He's strong travelling, but races a little bit behind the bridle at times. I think Sean is ideally suited to those type of horses. He's got a £2 pull with Il Ridotto for a 1-length defeat last time. He'll like a bit of juice in the ground. He's been quite well found in the market, but he's into 11-1 now. I tipped him up as my horse to follow at the start of the year. He's done me well already, had a great year already, and I would love to see him go and win it, not only for my pocket, but also for Carl and Richard, who just spoke with such passion on Sunday. Into the Mayor's Novice Hurdle, and my nap of the day runs here, and that's Lucia. I've been really impressed by her. I thought Exeter last time was a superb run. I know Nico de Boinville was kind of keen to go towards the Supreme Novices with her, but Nikki's held fast and gone here. And I think you have to think that shows what regard they hold her in, as does the fact that she made her hurdle debut in a listed contest at Newbury. That's very unlike Nikki Henderson to do something like that. She won that easily. She's jumped well. She travels well. If the ground does go up soft, it's not a problem for her, because she had a brilliant form at Sandown on desperate ground last year in a bumper. I think she's a cut above these, and I'll be disappointed if she doesn't win. Princess So, I'd love to see her go well. She's been a brilliant horse for Tony Mullins on the flat. I've loved following her, but I just didn't love how she jumped last time. I thought Danny Mullins held her hand the whole way, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to do that here. Though, of course, if the ground goes soft, if we do get rain coming through, that's going to aid her course. But for me, it's Lucia in the Mayor's Novices. And then the last race of the day is the Kim Muir for amateur riders. Again, I can't reiterate enough how having a good amateur is important here. And I've got three that I've been quite keen on from an anti-post point of view, and I'm delighted to see they've all lined up. Rappler has been well found in the market. He was 33 to 1 when I first tipped him up. He's now into 16 to 1. I really rate Alice Stevens. She gets to claim here against some more seasoned amateurs that aren't able to claim, but she's really good. And she's very well suited to a hold-up ride, which will suit this horse and will suit this race. I think we saw in the National Hunt Chase on Tuesday that there's a tendency for the amateurs to go a little bit too hard. I think that was the case with Marla Mission. I think it was a tired fall when he came down. Alice will ride this horse cold. He's got a first-time visor on. That might just help him travel in the early part of the race. Price has gone a little bit, but 16 to 1 is still a nice price for a winner at Cheltenham if he can get the job done. And I wouldn't dismiss him at all for Henry Daly. Horse that's got good course form. Curseren is another one. He's 33 to 1. When I tipped him up, I was just a little bit concerned as to what amateur John Joe O'Neill would choose to use, because his son AJ does ride as an amateur. He's perhaps not as classy an amateur as some of these, and that would have been a bit of a concern for me in a race of this nature. But they've actually gone for Will Biddick, and that's a good booking. Will Biddick is champion men's point-to-point rider in the UK for I don't know how many of the last years, but certainly a good number. He's basically a professional in everything but status, just his weight that stops him being able to ride in the professional ranks. He's a seriously talented guy. Curseren will need to get into a rhythm in the early stages. He's a novice, and his early couple of efforts over fences weren't great, but he put it together at Newbury last time, where I think he was valued for far more than the winning margin. His mark was unchanged on 140, and when you watch it, it took John Joe O'Neill virtually to get around the bend to the back straight in Newbury to pull him up. This extra trip and this track is really going to suit this horse, provided his jumping passes the test in the first part of the race. He's 33 to 1, and then you have to give Mr. Incredible a really good shout. Patrick Mullins, I think, showed his coolness in the National Hunt Chase, never panicked, paced it to perfection. I think he's got a great chance on Mr. Incredible, who was ridden very cold last time in the Classic Chase at Warwick. I think that was just to ensure that he got his Grand National qualification. I expect to be ridden with a little bit more positivity by Patrick here. He'll love the hill. He'll love the track. He is 6 to 1 now. He was bigger when I first tipped him up, but I think he's got a great chance. But Rapper, Curseren, Mr. Incredible, I'll probably play the tri-cast there as well. I think they've all got 3 good chances. So that wraps up the preview of day 3. Thanks very much for your engagement in watching Cheltenham, Coffee Break Cheltenham, I should say. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad it's tipping up a few winners. A winning nap on Tuesday, a winning nap on Tuesday. Let's hope the cheer can get that done again today. If you haven't done so already, share this with your friends, and please hit the subscribe button. It will make sure that you don't miss any of the content I got planned in the next couple of weeks. Enjoy your day, and I'll be back one more time for Coffee Break Cheltenham tomorrow morning.